In Melbourne, the drum and bass scene has been growing steadily since Adam One's first Panic parties in 1993. In the mid-90s, the scene consisted of a very small but dedicated crowd. From these early beginnings, the scene's developed to a point where now there's more interest in drum and bass than ever before. However, in comparison to other genres of local electronic music, the fact remains that it's still a very small, tight-knit community. There's only a handful of DJs, producers and promoters who are an integral part of keeping the Melbourne drum and bass scene afloat.
You know, it's a popular form of music now. It's cool to like hip-hop. When it started, it was very, very uncool. Same as drum and bass. So the handful of dudes that are into it, you get them all in the same venue. It's the first time that they've been in a whole venue full of people that are into what they're into.
Yeah, the vibe was pretty full on at the early parties. I mean, it was just so new, something we sort of hadn't heard before. And the way the DJs were mixing it up was just, you know, as someone who's always been kind of musical, to me it was just so much more than what some of the other DJs playing other styles of music were doing.
So the first party I did was Panic 1, and I actually had to import DJs from Adelaide to get enough dudes to play. We got a good crowd just because I think it was something different. People look at the flyer and jungle, what's that? People had no idea what it was. The way I went about it, I think, created curiosity more than people that were into it. And maybe only 20 people there that actually knew what it was. And the other 300 were curious, I think.
It was a lot slower back then, you know, and the beats were a lot more broken up, and, you know, heaps of cuts were, you know, DJs would, you know, cut the fuck out of tunes back then, man, you know. Now it's just, you know, really smooth, tight mixes.
In those days, when we were talking about old parties, like we used to play to maybe 75, 100 people down at the Big Bamboo, and used to dream of playing to a club with, you know, 1,000 people in it, and playing some, you know, really good venue with some really good sound system with international DJs, and we used to dream of that. But thinking back, some of those parties were just, you know, just so much fun, and so, just because it was so new.
Well, basically all we wanted back then was for people to like what we did, and now they do.
Ready? Hey! Who's ready for that front bass inside the place? Yeah, we're gonna get heavy inside. G-R-O-O-V-E R-I-D-E-R. Right on. Come on. Give it the bass. Give it the bass. Make a move. From the writers of the place. Give it the sound. Make it a move. From the writers in town. Think you put the mic, no time to mess around. Take it up the music, make the crowd jump around. Move around.
basically I didn't have my own store for a while, but I was ordering records through Stuart, who had a small store in South Melbourne in a little back street. And it was just a handful of us, maybe 2 or 3 dudes that were into the drum and bass, knew what it was. So I started ordering, 3, 4, 5 copies of stuff through Stuart instead of 1 just for myself. Eventually Stuart decided to move to a proper store in Paran and said, look, you've been selling a bit of drum and bass, you might as well set up your own little room in the back and see how you go. And basically that's how Soundboy started. Yeah. Jason Trooper was my first ever customer when Soundboy opened.
Last one from the DJ Trooper. Check that.
Yeah, DJing end of '94. Started playing at Adam's, a couple of the mashup parties and the panic parties through early '95, and so on till now. So yeah, DJing and of course production. It's got the next step at the moment. And Steve, 1LC, he used to always come to the early parties. He was always there at the front.
Some noise for the Melbourne DJ, the 1LC inside. Some noise.
Around '94, there was the panic parties, and then the bamboo parties, the big bamboo, which were really small, very underground, little jungle sort of sessions, which are a bit crazy.
I used to run rhythms with a couple of dudes back in the days at the Big Bamboo. Used to be Jeff Yates and Vinod Krishnan. It was probably Melbourne's first breaks and drum and bass night that was successful.
Rhythms was pretty much a starting point for a lot of, I guess I could say, second generation DJs.
Well, I've been involved in Melbourne's jungle, as it was then, and drum and bass scene for 7 years, huh? Jungle, when it first started, was a real offshoot of the hardcore scene. So the sounds then, compared to now, 7 years later, are completely different. It's chalk and cheese.
It's all about Randall and Session. It's all about Where's the noise? Where's the noise? Where's the noise? Who wants to rewind? Randall. I want to see people jumping. Jump up and down, ripping the sound out. Oh God. Coming at you, the flavor, release y'all. Oh, rhythm. Where's the noise? We got up.
96 really sort of started DJing and had my own decks and started to play out. Adam gave me a gig, and then there was a club that he ran, drum and bass wise, at Saratoga for a while, and that sort of faded out, and there wasn't really anything going on. Like drum and bass, you couldn't really go anywhere, or Adam had his slot on Kiss, but that was every now and then, but there wasn't anywhere you could go out or any real accessible point for the music.
Kenny Ken was the first techno thing I ever went to. I was like a little hip-hop kid and stuff. And I heard this techno DJ, Kenny Ken from England, and heard this music, drum and bass. It's like beats. I thought, wicked. So I got into that, and a few months later, Adam put his first Panic party on. I went to that and I thought, oh, same music again. And found out he had a shop, this and that, and went and bought first music, turntables, and was hooked.
Well, that's where group therapy came from. Phil and I sort of decided that, okay, the best way to do that was probably going to be to bring out UK internationals, to bring attention to the music and then take it from there, you know, see how it goes. Because, you know, there was this music that we were so passionate about, but we had no outlet for it. So, yeah, 98, group therapy started up and brought Kenny Ken out. That was the first event, Kenny Ken and MC Stevie Hyper D, and from there, Groove Rider and FDJSS and Chemistry and Storm, it just rolled out and sort of made my links with the UK agents and DJs and things like that.
Easy does it, Mr. SS. Right about now we take this one right from the very TOP. With the sound of the SS inside the place. Oh my gosh, with us rocking it like this. Going out to all the dancing crowd, all the Russian crowd. When I reach this one out for those who like to get lively inside. Listen up with a natural sound. Reaching out for all those around the bar. Make sure you buy the bar up, see? Those out to those in the front, those at the middle. Right now it's the sound of the underground. Yes, you're gonna get down with the touchdown. Gonna get down, you're gonna get down, you're gonna get down the with the touchdown. Yeah, you're gonna get down, you're gonna get down the with the touchdown. Gonna get down, you're gonna get down, you're gonna get down. With the underground sound, with a mix it down, with a mix it down, with a mix it down, like a rough next sound. Yeah, this one I wicked, this one I wild, time to get it down. Here comes the original style, SS, let it go.
I first got here for the SS party, group therapy at Prince of Wales. The first DJ I saw was Trooper, and he was very good, but since then I've just noticed that all the other DJs have gotten, you know, better, they're more confident.
In the earlier days, you're sort of playing, you see how people react to a certain drop or the way they move to it, you know, not quite being able to find the beat or something as simple as that.
The music has progressed like dramatically. Sort of back then it was like a combination of hardcore techno, sort of happy hardcore, jungles, everything was sort of in the same sort of boat.
It kind of started off kind of ravey. It was in the raves, you got like kids wearing glow pants or whatever, you know, putting the powder on the floors and peaking, you know. When it started to get more jungly with the reggae samples and the hip hop samples coming through it, you know, it kind of attracted more urban groove, kind of, you know, street kids, kind of street urban hip hop kind of dudes were getting into it. A lot of skaters and that.
And it sort of changed to jungle. Happy hardcore went one way, and jungle sort of took on the ragga tip, and sort of just diverted from that and just was drum and bass from then on.
I mean, I was working with FSOM in the early 90s. It was probably about 95 when it really started to get, as they called it at the time, intelligent with Bookham and Goldie and Ronnie Size. You know, just really cleaning it up and getting rid of the high-pitched vocals and, you know, the silly melodic bass lines and the stuff that I didn't really like. I pretty much felt that I had done what I could do with techno at the time in Melbourne and, you know, felt quite stale, and then just to hear all this wonderful music, it was like being 15 and discovering house music again.
Bailey, the first time round at Tattoo, those guys afterwards just couldn't stop talking about it. You know, they've typically been their best gig in years, you know, because the vibes are definitely really high.
Melbourne, are you ready for this one? Are you ready for this one? Everybody get ready. Everybody. 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 Where is the noise? Melbourne. It goes. My selector good. My selector wise. Who wants to we ride? My selector good. My selector wise. Who wants to we ride? I love you, Melbourne. Believe me, straight from my heart. Let's go! Hey! Everybody dance! Everybody scream! Remember when I see the place going crazy with a Bailey?
Tech step. Sean came out on the scene thinking that it was lacking something, especially what I mentioned earlier on about the sound. But he did bring out a few international acts, one being Matrix, Fierce, Dom and Roland. Bad Company, Loxy and Ink. He's always pushing to bring out the groundbreaking DJs.
Matrix, Fierce and Trace. Yeah, that was a good night. That was interesting. I think that was the first time 3 internationals had ever come out at once, and they were all getting up, going back to back.
Ready for the next one coming out. Ready for the next one. Ready for the next one coming out. Ready for the next one. Right into the move out. Yeah. Easy. Ready to roll with the ritual of the crowd. Under the set drum and bass. We're going on the place. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna say?
When I saw Chemistry and Storm playing over here in 1998, I just thought that was great. Not only were they fantastic DJs and I really liked their tastes in music, but they were female as well.
What a sound sundown, it'll still be funky, it'll still be funky, yeah.
The sounds are rolling fine. We're kicking out inside. We're gonna take on the ride, yo, one more time. You just let the music take the work. Yeah.
Rush and Optical at Groove Therapy number something. That was really, really good. Like, I'm real big fans of Red Rush and Optical.
Red Rush and Optical absolutely taking over. As Adelaide and Melbourne come together as one. Listen.
That's it about drum and bass, you see. All around the world, even in England, it's considered underground, small, but a group of masses, you know what I mean? We have a group of people, some heads who are into it, and all around the world is like that.
When I came back, I said to Adam, like, your store here's got to be one of the best drum and bass stores in the world, because I didn't see a store in London that had the spectrum of music that you had in here.
So being in Melbourne is actually good in that way. We're able to, I guess, take a step back a lot of the time and really evaluate things more on face value.
For me as a DJ, it gives you a chance to create a bit of your own identity, because you're not so saturated in that sound that they have there.
But I think that the fact that, you know, Adam's store has got, you know, has that range has got as much to do with the sort of depth and breadth of drum and bass in Melbourne in itself, in that it's, you know, there are certain DJs that play certain styles, but it's a really open drum and bass scene. You know, you hear, like a night like Solar, you'll go to Solar and you can hear every sound that is, you know, all the styles within drum and bass in the one night, and I don't think there's many clubs in the world that you can do that, you know.
Originally, drum and bass was always UK orientated, and a bit like the hip hop from the US, you know, any other country outside it, there was a stereotype and it was dissed. Now we've got producers from Norway, Japan, and where else? The US is steadily getting up there. Brazil, yeah, and now it's actually becoming quite global. Hopefully Melbourne will be one of the first ones to be able to do it.
You know, the thing is, these guys here are actually really talented, as much as I might say we're all a little bit protective. You know, you've got, you know, 1LC and Phil Panzers, Adam Ones and Troopers. They're very, very talented guys in Melbourne, and you've got the whole crew in Adelaide and the whole crew in Perth as well. Greg Packer's had some tracks out with Bookham, and he's also just had a track out on Hard Levers, which is, you know, getting played.
It's evolution, man. It's gonna stream all over the world. So, you know, if our artists just, you know, get out there and just really start pushing, and I think what we need is stop emulating what England is doing and maybe put our own kind of injection into it.
Yeah, people should just look out for a lot of the local stuff, because definite focus on quality as opposed to quantity, you know, and that's why I haven't been seeing a lot of it at the moment. There's some definitely getting your head down and actually producing some, you know, some real stuff.
Yeah, no, everyone loves the Melbourne scene, and you know, Melbourne's really always retained its intimate vibe. You know, particularly when you've got clubs of under 600 people in smaller, good environments. It's just, you really just do get a very unique vibe here, and artists pick up on that straight away.
That doesn't take years and years of genius and a huge studio to do these things. It's just effort and knowledge and a love for it that makes it good. And that person can be in Melbourne or that person can be in London, it doesn't matter.
Melbourne, you control Australia for drum and bass. Peace.
Melbourne has seen drum and bass grow from an obscure, unknown entity into a fully accepted and popular style of music. At present, the style is diverse and attendance at events is at a high. However, it's vital for the future that local production continue to be developed. This will ensure that Melbourne can establish its own identity musically and create an impact worldwide.